This quick video is on how to use the 03 campus-specific content survey. That survey portion can be added into your registration survey if you want to add in some specific questions to your campus. It's modifiable, editable by the end user, that's you guys, pretty easily. So let me show you how to access that, copy it over, and then modify that appropriately. So we're going to start at our home page here, our Qualtrics dashboard. Top left-hand corner, my 3 lines. I'm going to go to my library. And so here I am in my library. I'm going to drop down to GSPOC. And on the left-hand side, you've got some folders here. It's in here, this is all of them, but I'm going to go to my optional folder. Optional, obviously, is optional content. This one right here, 03 campus-specific content. I'm going to view it for you real quick. This is what it looks like. There's nothing here. It's a shell that allows you to add your own content, and you can modify it. There's nothing in this that's really, nothing in here that's in any way elaborate or complicated. It's just simple questions. And obviously, I've got to delete this question here. You got to delete that. I'll show you how to do that. But some of this information I'm about to tell you is in this delete this question portion. So let's go ahead and close it. And I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to drop down the gear, hit copy survey, make sure you are putting it in your library. You are going to add it to GSPOC registration. That's where you're putting all of your content. I'm going to put it in my training folder because this is a training. So you will put it in your registration folder though. Keep the name as is and hit copy. So you're going to switch back to your library. Again, really important that you not modify anything in the GSPOC group library. Go back to your library. And then you would select your registration folder. I'm going to go into my training. And I'm going to open up this 03 campus-specific content by clicking on the gear. And I'm going to edit this. Once again, you are in your library. Very important. Cannot edit anything in the GSPOC one. You are in your library. Open that up on the gear. Hit edit survey. So you'll see in here that we just have pretty much a shell. There's not anything really in here. If you want to modify this, what if I wanted to put, YWLA specific information or whatever, that's up to you as you see fit. You can leave it, doesn't matter. It says delete this question. Make sure you read over this. What this is basically saying is that if you want to add anything like campus-specific questions, we ask for t-shirt and jacket size here because of stuff from the school. Maybe you want to add in, one idea might be if you ever had a TCC ID number for my ECHSs, maybe students who had College for Kids or previous relationship with TCC. Have you ever taken a TSI exam? Things like that. Maybe those are some questions that you want to add in here. Maybe it's just, what's your favorite color if you want to get to know your students a bit more. But we're going to delete this, though, because it says to do so. We're going to look real quick, though. First, it says it must be placed between the 01 GSPOC registration block and the XX GSPC signatures block. And that's why I need number 3. There is a number 2, right? But the most important thing is it has to be after 01. It has to be before XX. Remember, this is our bookends here. First one, last one. And it says to do what we just did. Copy it, edit it, blah, blah, blah. It gives a note about translation. We'll talk about that here in a second. So I'm going to delete this by clicking on Remove Question. That's this little red dot. It's going to go into my trash down here, and that's fine. They're not going to see it in the trash, but this is just a, just like a trash can on Windows or Mac OS. That way you can restore things that you may delete accidentally. So I want to add in a question. So I've got, what's my t-shirt size? Sure, we can keep it, but man, that's not very many choices in here. So I'm going to click on the question. You'll notice the left-hand rail changes, and I can add choices. Maybe I want to instead put extra small, small, medium, large, XL, double XL. Okay, so that's done. I can change the format here. I can leave it like this. I can drop down and make it a drop-down list if I want to, right? All sorts of different things that I can do here. as you wish. You can add requirements. So let's say you want to force this to be to have a response. You want to request a response. That means that if they don't answer the question, it's going to pop up and say, are you sure you want to move on? You have questions you didn't answer. But if they say yes, continue, it's just going to ignore that and leave it unanswered. But I really want to know, so I'm going to click force response on this one. It's going to require it for that user. There's some other things here. I wouldn't play with these unless you really know what you're doing. I leave it the same. You can also allow multiple answers in here. I don't know why you would. You got a kid who says, small, medium, doesn't matter. But I would leave this as one answer. So let's say that we do want to add a couple questions. Let's add a TCC ID number question for my ECHSs. Okay, so when I click on add a question, as I just did, that's that plus sign. It popped up and gave me a default multiple choice. Left-hand side, drop down. These are all the kinds of questions I can add. Some of these make no sense for what you're using, but play around with it. This is your thing, so if you break it, just delete the question and add a new one. TCC ID number, though, we're going to go with a text entry. What's the type of text it's going to be? Well, it's going to be a single line. We're going to leave it not autocomplete. We do want to require. We're going to force the response. And we're going to look at this validation, because for this one, add validation, we want it to be a number. So I'm doing content type, number. You can do maximum, minimum, all that sort of thing. So this is saying, okay, they're going to have to type it in, and then the content type is going to be a number. Well, wait a second. Do we really want them to have to type this in? What if the kid doesn't have that number? Okay, so maybe we don't want to add requirements. We're going to turn that off. Over here, enter the question text. If your student has a TCC ID number, please provide it below. Cool. Pretty simple. Text entry, single line. We're not going to require it. We thought differently about that. Add the validation, content type as a number. You don't have to put the validation in. You can leave it off. But every time if you add that validation, it's going to make sure that the person's typing a number and not IDK, right? So now we've got that question written. Let's say we want to add another question where we want to say, pick 3 of your favorite colors, right? Just to show you real quick, we're going to add a new question. We want to make it multiple choice, but if we say pick 3, we're going to say allow multiple answers. Let's put 5 choices, and then we can say, pick your 3 favorite colors, and red, blue, green, yellow, orange. So we can do stuff like that. Pretty easy. So now these are the questions that we want to add. We're happy with these. You want to test it, you can hit this preview button. It's going to show this next screen. It's going to show exactly what this is going to look like to that end user, whatever. Up to you. We're not going to submit that because it's just a test. So let's say we're happy with this. We want to keep it as is. Okay. So remember that little note. If you wrote it on here, you wrote it in English. It has not been switched to Spanish yet. So over here on the left-hand side, we've got the XM, we've got Survey Builder, Survey Flow, ignore that, and we've got Survey Options. We're going to click in there. The only thing that's going to pop up is going to be a translation. So if you're editing a survey from your library, the only setting you have to give is translation. Over here it says Q1 English, Q1 Spanish. Notice it's red. That means that's not in Spanish, shockingly. Well, if you are a Spanish speaker, you can click in here and you can just type it. If you are not, or if you are a Spanish speaker and you just don't want to do a lot of typing today, click on that red dot. It's going to tell you that we're using Google Translate. Okay, I speak fluent French and I still use Google Translate for long documents because it's easier than sitting there and typing the whole time. So hit yes. Información específica del campus. If that works for you, check with your Spanish-speaking colleague if you don't. Okay? If you don't like that, you can change it. Next question. Same deal. What is your t-shirt size? Click the red dot. Okay. I'm cool with that. Extra small, small. Maybe you want to just say M because you know that because in America they might understand that better. XL. Here's the magic of this. They will click in Spanish. You will get a result in English. These correspond. It's a translation, not a different survey. So if you want to leave it in Spanish, that's fine. But for consistency's sake, if your student has a TCC ID number, please provide it below. Boop. Okay. Easy enough. Okay. And then see, sometimes the translation's weird, like it drops the lowercase here, so we just want to fix it. And wait, what's that? That's not the right one. And my Spanish speakers are going to say, I know what that is, and I'm going to say, I don't know. So I'm going to look it up. Color orange Spanish. Oh man. Anaranjado. That's what I want. I just couldn't spell it. Okay. So now I'm done with my survey. Notice up here it's saving automatically. It's saved. I've translated everything. If I want to double check that, I can click that translation overview. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody's happy. So now completed, I'm going to go back to my library. So now I'm in, notice, my library again. That survey is under training. That's the one that I built right here, campus-specific content. So now let's look at how we can add that to our existing survey. So I'm going to click on my one that I built for me. That's going to be back in my projects. So I'm going to click in my 3 lines, down to projects. For you guys, you're going to use this GSPOC registration. That's where yours is going to be, right here. That's my real one, okay? For this video, I'm going to use my test one. So this is the one that I built as a test. And I can go in here. I can use 3 dots and then hit edit, or I can just click on it. So I'm going to edit the survey. Now I'm going to go over to my survey flow. See on the left-hand side. And I'm going to add a new element. I can also hit add below. But I'm going to do this here because it's easier. And I'm going to add in a reference survey. I'm going to pull it in from my library. I'm going to go to, mine is in my training, yours will be in registration. Campus-specific content. But here's the problem. Remember I said there has to be an order of operations here. So this has to be first, this has to be last, so I have to move it. I'm going to click on move. Notice my cursor changes to 4 arrows. And I'm going to drag it. And I can put it anywhere between these. It doesn't really matter. Now, I'm going to put mine here, but you can put it here or here, okay? What matters is it's between the 1 and the double X. So I'm going to put it here. That's fine. And so now, bottom right, follow my cursor. I'm going to click on apply. And now, if you look at my server builder, top left, you'll see that now it's been added in. It's called default block, but it's in there, my campus-specific information. Okay, so this will now be presented to users after the orientation, but before the signatures, which is what I want it to be. Okay? Now, last step, I have to publish these changes, top right-hand corner. If it's blue, that means that you've got changes that you haven't published, and so I'm going to click on Publish. Maybe I'll add in my description, campus-specific questions. Notice in the bottom right, we're going to ignore the expert review. We're going to click on Publish. It's published, and now my users will see that addition.